I'm a Possum and I find garbage. Today's garbage is Masters of the Universe. Yeah, they made a new He-Man movie. You might not have known that. I don't have much to say about the movie itself. I just want to talk about the stupid cultural phenomenon that this movie is yet another manifestation of. Before I saw the new He-Man movie, I saw this tweet talking about how the movie's flopping because it's a shame to be a for-boys movie. And yeah, it is. The director himself said Skeletor is an embodiment of toxic masculinity, and He-Man himself, a legendary muscle-bound aspirational hero who represents ultimate good, is deconstructed and emasculated. At the beginning of the movie, when he's a little kid, he's the smallest and weakest one and girls beat him up. And then the kingdom gets attacked by Skeletor and he has to escape through a portal and ends up on Earth, where he grows up and gets a job as an HR consultant, where he's subjected to sensitivity seminars and gets talked down to by his female boss, who fake smiles at him. Then, when he finally gets the Sword of Power and goes back to Eternia, he's still a huge coward who tries to resolve conflict with words, which of course never works. Yeah, the movie treats it like a joke, but that doesn't alter the fact that they're doing it. And they keep making jokes at the expense of his masculinity until the end, even after he saves the day. This movie is a recent example of this, but it's not the only one. I think that's why these big nostalgic revival movies keep flopping. See, the Barbie movie was successful because it was unapologetically a for-girls movie. It was made for women who played with Barbie dolls when they were kids, and it was like a celebration of girlhood. But they don't make things for boys anymore. Think of a piece of media that originated in the past 10 years that was made for boys. They make cartoons either for girls or for everyone. They make toys for girls or for everyone. They even make places for girls or for everyone. And if they ever do make something for boys, it's designed to remind them of how toxic, stupid, and pathetic they are. I think video games are the only Western media where this isn't the case, at least not yet. Look at the Star Wars sequels. Star Wars was very much a franchise for boys. Yeah, it had girl fans, but that was incidental. It's a story about a guy who becomes a magical warrior and saves a princess, and he fights monsters and saves the day through bravery and violence. Tell me it's not a boy's story. But when Disney got their hands on it, suddenly it became the Force is female, and now every male character is a buffoon who always gets upstaged or talked down to by a woman. Luke Skywalker is a pathetic loser, and even the trilogy's Darth Vader stand-in, Kylo Ren, is a man-child who can't control his emotions. They did the same thing with Indiana Jones. He used to be this tough, competent guy who could punch or shoot his way out of any situation, and always got the girl. But in Dial of Destiny, he's a pathetic, depressive old has-been who's lost everything in a divorce, and gets showed up by the new oh-so-smart and confident female lead. Perhaps the most egregious example is what they did with Joker. The first movie portrays Arthur as this mentally ill man who grapples with loneliness and can't seem to succeed at anything, and only gets ridiculed for trying, so he becomes the monster that society always treated him as. This resonated with a lot of men who were frustrated with every aspect of their lives, to the point that the media started fear-mongering that would spark a violent incel uprising. But when they made the sequel, they consciously went out of their way to alienate the very audience that made the first movie successful, implied they were a bunch of losers and exploiters through its themes, and made Arthur more pathetic than ever, ending with him getting raped, losing the only woman who ever loved him, and then dying without any fanfare. It's like they're trying to alienate the male audience. Male audiences respond to aspirational heroes. Heroes who are strong, competent, and capable, or at least representative of our struggles. But the only characters who seem to embody those traits now are all women. Every male character who was those things in the past is now altered in some way to make them less threatening to some imaginary modern audience, all for the sake of postmodern deconstruction. Doesn't that get old? Deconstruction? That's all they do now. Can you even still call it deconstruction when the subversion of a trope has become more common than the actual trope being played straight? This sort of thing has been going on for over a decade now. Men used to get excited to see things from their childhoods brought back. Now, every time they announce a revival of what we grew up with, we react with dread because we've seen the pattern. They emasculate our childhood heroes, tell us we're toxic, and act like they're embarrassed to even be pretending to cater to us. And we're sick of it. That's why these movies keep flopping now. We're tired of being talked down to, and we don't want to reward the mockery of our boyhoods. And why? Why do they do these things? It's not like it's impossible to appeal to boys and men. That's why boys are flocking toward anime. Shows like Dragon Ball, Naruto, One Piece, and My Hero Academia don't talk down to their audience and tell them they're toxic or make fun of them. But I could hardly think of any piece of Western media that was made explicitly for boys that came out in the past 10 years. When I was a kid, we had things like SWAT Cats, Biker Mice from Mars, the Cowboys of Moo Mesa, Mighty Max, Bucky O'Hare, and so on. It was all stupid crap made to sell toys, but it was never a deconstruction of masculinity that treated us like we were defective. These shows are made to appeal to us so we would want to buy the toys. Yeah, imagine that. Hollywood doesn't even really make movies about male friendships and bonding anymore. Not unless it's some homoerotic thing that only women will watch, or it's some kind of satire of fragile masculinity or something. All they do is criticize, they're not even interested in showing what they think masculinity should be. All they want to do is tear it down. The one lone exception in recent years I could think of off the top of my head is Top Gun Maverick, which happens to be the second highest grossing movie of that year. You'd think they would have learned from that, but it's been 4 years and I don't think anything like that has happened since. But of course, if you point this out, people act like you're crazy because, you know, men can never be disenfranchised because we're all just so privileged, right? Please ignore the homelessness, workplace fatality, and suicide statistics. But the numbers don't lie. Joker 2 flopped. Dial of Destiny flopped. The Star Wars sequels ran on brand recognition but saw diminishing returns, and now the franchise has so little goodwill that The Mandalorian and Grogu flopped. And now Masters of the Universe is a flop. Even if no one is articulating it, it's pretty obvious that men and boys all feel it. We've all been alienated from the things that were once made for us, but which now seem to only exist to mock us. And that's why these things keep losing money, and yet they keep doing it. The 18 to 34 male demographic used to be the most sought after. Now Hollywood seems to do everything they can to repel them. Whoever is in control of these writing rooms is obsessed with postmodern deconstructions, prioritizes vulnerability over competence, and feels the need to shove in feminist girl power messages and toxic masculinity critiques. And the result has been a disaster, not just for male audiences, but for themselves. It's stupid. I don't know, I guess I'm just gonna end this video with a quick review of the actual movie. The music's pretty good, Jared Leto was surprisingly good as Skeletor, the action's pretty decent, and Dolph Lundgren has a cameo if you care about that sort of thing. But it's got a lot of that dumb Marvel-style humor where instead of just being silly and campy, it constantly draws attention to its own silliness and winks at the audience. You know, the type of humor that's like, hey, wouldn't it be funny if we showed this trope and it would play out realistically? It would be all awkward and stuff. The type of self-referential humor that we're all sick of. It also has a predictable plot that follows the typical 3-act structure and beats. You get the end of the second act where he gets the sword and goes back to the magical world, the midpoint action scene, the second act low point where a guy dies, the heroic speech where they all decide to work together, and then he fights the bad guy and wins. Nothing special there. It's all just a typical modern adventure movie. It's fun and inoffensive if you don't think about it, but there's nothing in it that makes it worth paying to see it in a theater. Whatever. Here's a challenge for my audience. In the comments, name a cartoon made to sell toys that you liked when you were a kid. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe if you're not already, check my channel for favorite videos you may have missed since YouTube doesn't always tell you when to upload. Send me your fan art, support me on Patreon, and the link's in the description. Bye.